Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of In 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. I'm thinking ahead. Inside the Pigskin returns this Thursday, but you know what? They're great shows, anyways. Just depends on what ball you want to throw. You want to go ahead and throw a pigskin or a baseball, but tonight it is baseball time. And I'm pleased to be joined by Candy Ebling. Welcome back, Can.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Great to be here.
Yeah, she was on Chicks and Salsa earlier, so to give our audience a little bit of credit, we do not like to go ahead and compete against those young ladies because they're, as Jimmy Walker would say, dynamite, although I'm not going to go that low. And Jordan Long, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
You're very welcome. And Rick Curdy, Mr. Opinion.
Hey, guys, how are you?
First of two. He gets tomorrow night as well. So, and George Eichhorn. Well, I saw you last night, but before we go ahead and do that, we're going to wish Mr. George Eichhorn a happy birthday. All right? Happy birthday.
Oh,
Happy birthday.
It's a day early. But it's a day early.
I don't get one this year. I'm on leap day. So,
yeah.
Oh, man.
But thanks, Scott.
Yeah, no, I remember the good old days back home in Metro Detroit, how you went out there and put a restaurant chain out of business, right, practically.
Yeah.
At least your babies did. It was called, I think it was a Bill Knapp's.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, my goodness. You talk about double dipping. Mr. Eichhorn was thrifty at doing that. So, all right. So here's what we're going to do tonight. Got 3 baseball topics, parting shots. And we're going to let everybody say whatever they want. Especially, I always like the parting shots because I get to find out what's in the minds of my co-hosts. So with that said, let's get it rolling here. And I know this is probably one Rick Curdy liked the most anyways. According to CBS Sports, Michigan football had a higher attendance than the Oakland A's. Can you imagine that? But here, I'll break down the numbers. We're going to lead off with Curdy in a moment. Michigan, 8 home games, 881,971. And the Oakland A's, you take an 8 and add a 1 next to it. It's called 81. Boy, I'm really good with these kind of things. Not quite for a guy who has 20/70 vision anyways. But those numbers add up to 787,902. When I saw this, there was no way I could not put this one on, Rick. So you seem to like to talk about the Oakland A's. Go ahead and talk about them.
Well, the Oakland Athletics, to me, have become the Oakland Pathetics, as I like to call them, because they're pathetic attendance. I mean, they're minor league, the Las Vegas Aviators, the minor league baseball team draws more than the Oakland A's. So this doesn't surprise me because Michigan has always had great attendance. The Oakland Pathetics never have. Just another sad statistic for the Oakland A's and their fans. I feel bad for the fans, but they're going to move to Las Vegas. It's going to happen. Way too much money to be made in Las Vegas. Billions and billions of dollars, all due to fantasy sports. It's just, and there's nothing going on in Oakland. You go, to the bridge and be a Giants fan now. So sorry to hear about that, Oakland. But eventually they're going to be the Las Vegas A's or the Vegas A's or whatever they want to be called. But this doesn't surprise me because they've had pathetic attendance, and even the fans know they're leaving because they're just not showing up because they're so mad that they're going to move, and they already lost their football team and lost the basketball team. So now they're going to lose their baseball team. So I hate to be the mayor of Oakland right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lame duck situation, Oakland Pathetics. I haven't heard that one before. Who knows? Maybe there's a hashtag. Knowing you, you'll probably use it on your hashtag tomorrow when you promote it afterwards. So with that said, George, nobody knows.
Well, yep.
Before it's 881,971 to 787,902.
It's incredible. It's a incredible statistic. Of course, Michigan football, everybody's loved that over here for years and years. They've drawn very, very well. The Oakland situation is really sad. I feel for the fans, like Rick said. They've been blessed with some good teams over the years, going back to Charlie Finley, those great teams with Joe Rudy and Catfish Hunter and Gene Tennis and those guys, Reggie Jackson. When you look back over the years, they've had very competitive teams, but they just cannot. They've always struggled at the gate. Even under those good teams, they struggled at the gate. I remember the media making a big deal out of that postseason games weren't even sold out in Oakland. Clearly, the Bay Area cannot support 2 teams. and especially the city of Oakland cannot. They've dragged their feet on this so long. The ownership has dragged their feet. And like Rick said, I mean, they await this move to Las Vegas because that's where all the money is. That's where the attendance is going to be. And that's where the promotion and marketing efforts are going to be over the top for Major League Baseball in Vegas. But I really do think that it's a sad but interesting stat, Scott, that you got on that one, because it just illustrates how poor the attendance figures are at that Oakland Coliseum, which we all know should have been replaced many, many years ago, if not decades ago, with a new ballpark. It's a shame that they've waited this long, but they're only getting what they deserve.
Yeah, a 20-year ongoing problem. I had the opportunity to go to a game at the Oakland Coliseum when the Lions took on the Raiders, and it definitely, what I went there, it showed the whereabouts. I can only imagine now. It just mind boggles me. Oh yes, of course, everybody become a Giants fan anyways, and you know, if you're a real diehard Oakland A's fan, you can go. Well, it's like 4 or 5 hours to get to Vegas. I don't even know what it is, but I know it's not long because I know the Raiders fans travel. So, yeah, it to me, it's just mind-boggling how you have 8 games, 81, and you're outdrawing them by even over, what is it, 100,000, 90,000. Oh, before we go to Jordan, I just want to let everybody know that 108 Stitches Baseball Talk can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. So please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We are striving for 1,000 subscribers. Like it, share it with your friends, and we want to continue to grow the platform. Want to be a guest? No problem. I'll find a spot for you. Send topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com, and we'll find the right show that fits your topic. We want to get as many people involved as we definitely can. All right, I'll turn over to Jordan Long. You've heard the numbers. I don't have to repeat them anymore.
It honestly doesn't surprise me that the University of Michigan would, outdo the Oakland Athletics. Like Rick was saying, they do not have the infrastructure there in Oakland to actually keep a team. It's really sad because I've been there for a concert. I really thought it was outdated even in 2016. It needs updates. All Oakland has wanted, at least the Athletics, have wanted a new stadium. They're not going to get that. If you go to, Las Vegas, you're going to get the new stadium, like Rick and George were saying. You're going to get the sponsorship. You're going to get people to fill the seats. That's all they want. I feel sorry for the fans of Oakland, especially since they've been beloved there. But honestly, it's time to move. You need to get out there because what's going to get money? Ticket sales. And if you don't have the ticket sales, you don't really have a good product. Las Vegas is going to do that. So I'm not really surprised by the statistics that the University of Michigan is outdrawing the Oakland Athletics. It's just a sad state, though, to see where baseball is in the Bay Area for at least Oakland's sake.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw it, it seemed far-fetched, but then I thought about it. My gosh, we know that it's a shame, too, but they've had 20 years to get it figured out. And at some point or another, you keep dragging your feet or you have to find a different spot, and that's probably where we're at. I'll let Candy Evelyn go ahead and finish it off.
Okay, so I had to do a little research. Yes, I know Oakland hasn't supported their team recently. If you go back to 1968, that season, they had 837,466. So you're telling me in 2022, they can't draw the same amount of fans that they had in 1968? Come on, really? There are so many more people in this world. Does it surprise me that Michigan's outdrawing them? No. Michigan, it's the big house. Everybody, it's a hot ticket. Everybody wants to go. They sell out all the time. To put how many games in there and compare the attendance with Oakland is just, I hate to say it, it's pathetic. I feel bad for the fans. That's who I really feel bad for because the product on the field isn't that bad, but they're not going to the stadium. It's just not a good situation. They need to rectify it and move it. Go where the money is because they're not going to stay competitive. You can't. Let's face it. There are small market teams that are drawing and they can't stay competitive either. They have to I can remember back in the days when the Brewers weren't drawing very well. So what did they do? They had to come up with different gimmicks or different things that would bring fans in. That's why we have the bobbleheads that we have these days. That's why we have all those different items, is because that's to draw some of them in when they weren't getting the people in the stadium.
Yeah, and back then in '68, I believe they were the Kansas City Athletics.
No, they were still Oakland Athletics at that point. Kansas City was from 1955 to 67.
All right, well, I was off a year, but that's it.
Mhm.
Okay, so they ended up 67, 68 was their first year, is what you said, and that's when they drew it. So they had just moved over, and they were the Kansas City Athletics. Okay, just want to get that out there clear. All right, well, you know what? We're going to go back in baseball history. And one of the guys I really love to talk about is Nolanryan. He had 7 no-hitters, but also had 12 one-hitters. He was 12 hits away from 19 no-hitters, yet still never won a Cy Young Award, though he's in the Hall of Fame. All right, Rick, I'm going to lead off with you all night. So give me your take on Nolanryan and all the no-hitters.
Amazing pitcher. Nobody will ever break his strikeout record. The no-hitters, maybe, I don't know, but the strikeout record will never be broken. And like you alluded, Scott, he never won a Cy Young. People always say that. With all the phenomenal numbers Nolanryan put up, he never won a Cy Young. That's another one of those you look back and say, yeah, he never did win one. Just like I tell people, Greg Maddux never pitched a perfect game. You think of all the pitchers, you think of the no-hitters Nolanryan did. You would think Maddux would have thrown a no-hitter a perfect game. Never did. So just one of those quirky things that happen. There's always a lot of players you see out there that have never won this or never won that. So, but how he's not a unanimous in the Hall of Fame is beyond me. I don't know what you have to do to get him to be unanimous. I mean, strikeout king, no-hitter, 27 years. Didn't matter where he went, American, National League. He was phenomenal with the Angels. He was in the Jim Fregosi trade, probably one of the worst trades ever by the Mets. And he's a legend. And one of the greatest pitchers of all time.
Hey, George.
Yeah, he sure was a legend. I remember back in 1973, the Tigers had the unfortunate circumstance of being the victims of 2 no-hitters, Steve Busby and Nolanryan. In 1973, no-hit the Detroit Tigers. 8-time All-Star. I always admired him. I mean, he was one of the best, if not the best, in my era. I mean, I put Bob Gibson up there too, obviously dating myself here, but what Bob Gibson did for the St. Louis Cardinals especially, and I know Sandy Koufax before him, and there have been a lot of great pitchers, but Nolanryan has just been fantastic. I remember how former President George Bush, when he was the owner of the Texas Rangers, had such a great relationship with Nolan and always admired him and would talk about him. And I think that, the accomplishments are just off the charts. Like Rick said, I mean, all the strikeouts, all the awards he's won, and then, like you said, Scott, never got the Cy Young Award. It's just unbelievable, really. But he's a great pitcher, always will be a great pitcher. I loved him. Even though he defeated the teams that I rooted for, mostly the Detroit teams, the Tigers, of course, they had a tough time beating that guy, always.
Okay, Jordan.
I was to say, it's pretty interesting statistic that Nolanryan only had 7 no-hitters. I thought that, that number would be higher, and then 12 one-hitters. I mean, it's incredible what he was able to accomplish throughout his Major League Baseball career. I mean, he's definitely one of the best pitchers that I know. I mean, I never got a chance to see him, but of course, if you know baseball history, you think Nolanryan, because he's still one of the best pitchers to ever pitch the game. I didn't realize he never won a Cy Young. That really boggles my mind, because you would think, he has so many Cy Youngs, but he doesn't. And that was just an amazing statistic that that you pointed out. Still a great pitcher. And how he wasn't unanimous, like Rick said, to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame, I don't know. Still one of the best pitchers of all time, hands down.
Well, now one thing we can't forget is he did have a 2-hitter against Robinventura of the White Sox.
No, just
Yeah.
a 2-hitter. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
That was
or
amazing
maybe a
about him. He's
3-hitter.
47 years
Yeah.
old. He still threw 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, Robinventura find out that you can charge certain people, but you don't charge Nolan. So I don't know if it was a 2 or 3 hitter, but I had to throw that out there. So, all right, Candy, go ahead.
So let's throw a couple other things in here. Ryan, Pedro Martinez, Randy Johnson, Trevor Hoffman, and Sandy Koufax are the only 5 pitchers inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame who have more strikeouts than innings pitched. Ryan is one of only 3 players in history to have his number retired by at least 3 teams, along with Jackie Robinson and Frank Robinson. One of the things that I thought was very interesting, Ryan is one of only 29 players in baseball history to have appeared in MLB games in 4 different decades. That's never going to happen again. Never going to happen again. 4 decades.
Wow.
Believe that.
That is amazing. Well, the only thing I'll say to conclude the topic is, number one, nobody's going to get 7 no-hitters. Ryan, Nolan, your record is safe, and nobody's going to dare to get close to those strikeout numbers, especially the way the game is specialized. So, good stuff, Candy. My crack statistician, she comes through all the time. Last topic of the night, we go to parting shots. That's one of our new formats here. Is where we do our parting shots early, we touch on a few topics, and we all get to comment on parting shots. So now, the countdown to 2,000 hits. Andrew McCutchen, Pirates, 1948. Josealtuve, Astros, 1395. Freddie Dodgers, 1903. So I'm going to ask each and every one of you, did any of these guys even sniff 3,000 hits? Okay, Rick?
I think maybe Altuve, he's so young. But I think some might get close, but I'll say Altuve.
Okay. George?
Altuve is 32 and Freeman is 33. McCutchen is 36. I'd say definitely not for McCutchen. He's, hanging on to his career. I hate to use that term, but, the 1-year deal he had last year. Freeman, of course, signed that huge contract with the Dodgers. And Altuve, of course, everybody loves him in Houston. I'm going to say that both Altuve and Freeman have a shot at 3,000. I think they're a good chance to sniff it.
All right. Well, you know what? Before we go to you, Jordan, you get to read off our good friend Will Vogel. Go ahead.
I think Freeman and Altuve get 2,100 or 2,300 hits. For me, though, I have to look at the ages. Andrew McCutchen, I don't see it. The only 2 that I can see it's really Freddie Freeman or Jose Altuve. Right. So I would have to agree with George. It's going to be those 2. If anyone's going to get 3,000 hits.
Candy?
It's definitely not going to be McCutchen. His age, and he's just not producing the same as he used to. I think Altuve's even going to have a hard time. I think Freeman has the best chance. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll stay with Freeman, too, because he's on a better team with the Dodgers. He really is. I think the Astros are stripped a little bit, losing a lot in free agency, so we'll see what happens. If I were a betting man, and I'm not, I'm going to go with Freeman. All right, well, guess what? Parting shots. Rick, lead off, and now the way we do it is you say it, we all comment on it. But before we do that, I do want to mention a little update from last week's show. Manny Machado was seeking a 10-year, $400 million deal. He signs an extension this week with the Padres. He's getting a 10-year deal worth $350 million. So it's safe to say Manny isn't going anywhere. So we'll leave it at that. Just want to give you a little bit of an update. All right, Rick, please give me your parting shots.
Well, people talk about how football season's over and we have this long drought, but it's not over. You got the XFL. They've played some amazing games. AJ McCarron has come back from the dead, and had 2 comeback wins. And you see people like Hines Ward and Rod Woodson as head coaches. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and his ex-wife, they're the they're the owners now of the XFL. And then in April, the USFL starts back from the 80s, and they were very successful. So I'm very excited. I love these leagues. Why in the world people keep ripping them is beyond me. I keep hearing that they're a bunch of has-beens. Well, you know what, people who want to criticize XFL players, you go be a walk-on. You join the NFL, because the average player in the NFL is like 3.5 years. So people like Tom Brady, it's amazing he played that long, or Peyton Manning. It's amazing. So I love the XFL. I love the USFL. I love spring football. I'm glad it's back. And it gives other players opportunities who couldn't make it, who were released, to show people what they got. And then other people for the NFL could say, wow, that guy's really good. Let's bring him along. And a lot of the players in the USFL have come and are still playing in the NFL. So I love it. I wanted to continue. And for the people who want to bash it and make fun of it, shame on you, because it's pro football and it's exciting. And the rules are exciting too, because you can challenge every play you can. So it's not like you have to throw the ref. Like, you can every play is challenged. And when they do the kickoffs, they stand still till someone catches the ball. So safety reasons there. And the game is just really, really quick. And they show everything, where the NFL, it just drags. So I love it, and I hope it continues.
Okay, George, comment on what Rick had to say.
I can't argue with you, Rick. If you don't want it, then shut it off and shut up is what I say. There are plenty of good football players there, which to me is very important. These young men are trying to make a career, and who are we to say, oh, well, no, just because you're not in the NFL, go, do something else in your life. Come on. I know there's the Canadian Football League. There's the USFL, the XFL. It's giving jobs. It's giving jobs to some talented people. They're showing their skills. If you don't want to watch it, you have that choice. That's what it's all about here in America. But I agree with you, Rick. I think that they're putting out an entertaining product. The fans have a chance to see some new wrinkles, different wrinkles, let's call it, than what you see in the NFL. And Scott, you and I, remember we covered the Arena Football League.
Yeah,
The Detroit Drive had championship teams under general manager Gary Vito here in Detroit. And I loved going to those Arena League games. Detroit lost its franchise, but that was a lot of excitement too, the Arena League. But no, I'm not going to argue with you, Rick. I think the XFL should be here to stay.
Anybody should ever look at these leagues, let me just give you 2 words, okay? Hidden gems. All right, with that said, Jordan, please comment on what Rick had to say.
I haven't gotten a chance to watch the XFL, but I did watch the USFL last year. And honestly, I think it's a great league. Again, it's a feeder league, could be a feeder league to the NFL. We don't have many pro football leagues. It's unlike the NHL or even Major League Baseball, where you have the minor league system. Even the NBA has a minor league system. We needed something for the NFL, and this could be it. And honestly, people are saying, bashing these leagues, they need to stop, because we need more pro football. Yeah, I know it's in the spring. A lot of people are football out after the NFL, but some of these guys can actually go on to the NFL, and you can watch these leagues to see if they actually do that. So I'm fine with both of these leagues. Again, it's a chance for them to show off their skills.
All right, Candy.
We also have to understand that there's economics involved. Not only do these players want to play, they play in a stadium, they play in front of fans. If there's fans there, there's people there that are their ticket sales that are doing all. It's booming. It's helping the economy as well. I like the leagues. Not only is it a pre-feeder, and can it catapult somebody's career, or maybe they, especially like if they were in college and they got hurt or injured, and then people are real leery about drafting them. Go to one of these leagues. In today's day and age, we need more to boost the economy. We need more boost and more things that are good in the world. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Don't pay for the ticket. But let others. Don't tell us who and what we should be doing and spending our money on. Play the game, and if we want to see it, let them play.
The only thing I'm going to add to what Rick said is the A.J. McCarron story is a great story for those of you that don't know much about it. AJ McCarron could have gotten $4 million to be a backup in the NFL, chose to take $60,000 so his kids could play. Come on. If that isn't a good story, then tell me what one is, and I haven't learned a darn thing in 43 years. Secondly, Wade Phillips, I believe, is coaching one of the teams, and Bob
Houston
Stevens.
Roughnecks.
Right. So what you have here are two veteran coaches that can lend their expertise to some of these players to make them better as well. So there is nothing but upside with the XFL, USFL, which I did have an opportunity to cover the 1984 USFL championship game out in Tampa, and it was pretty neat stuff. So nothing wrong. People that are criticizing these leagues, you won't criticize them when you see some of these players help your local NFL team. So, all right, George, parting shots.
My parting shot today is about a certain hockey player from the Boston Bruins, Brad Marchand. And just to fill everybody in, it recently was leaked out that the finalists for an upcoming NHL All-Star Game or NHL Draft are the cities of Detroit, Edmonton, and Seattle. And Marchand couldn't keep his mouth shut. He made a comment to the effect of, well, who's going to want to go there and play in there, in the winter there? Who's going to want to play in those games out in those cities? Well, excuse me, sir. These cities have been waiting a long time for an all-star game. Of course, Seattle's franchise is brand new, but especially in the cases of Detroit and Edmonton, they've been waiting eons, which I've talked about on other shows on the Sports Exchange before. And for you to go ahead and make a comment like that and belittle the city's weather, okay, just because you might be upset, give me a break. You live in a city, Boston, that gets sometimes very cold in the winter. And you didn't mention Toronto, which has been awarded the All-Star Game by Commissioner Bettman for next year. Okay, that's a cold weather city too. But of course, Toronto is Toronto, I guess, in your mind. And hands off, you can't criticize that cosmopolitan city. But again, Marchand, keep your mouth shut, okay? Detroit and Edmonton and Seattle are deserving of the All-Star Game and or the NHL Draft.
Okay, George, you want to add to that?
I will have to say with what George is saying, I did hear the comments of Brad Marchand, and honestly, I agree with George. He needs to keep his mouth shut. Did he forget that the NFL Draft and the NHL All-Star Game are for the fans? They're entertainment. Even the draft is entertaining for the fans. It doesn't matter what city you put it in. People are going to go and enjoy their time to watch these All-Stars. Brad Marchand just needs to shut his mouth.
Candy?
I completely agree. Keep your mouth closed, because let the fans enjoy, and let these cities that haven't necessarily as big as some of the other cities host things. Let them. If that's what they want to do, what difference does it make where we have it? If you have people that want to come and enjoy it, let them.
Rick?
So this idiot plays in Massachusetts. Doesn't it snow in Massachusetts? Last I remember.
Yes.
Then they have like torrential 8-10 feet of snow. I don't know what he's talking about. I live in a small market in Charlotte. We've been trying to get a Super Bowl. Hopefully one day we will. But, we would love to see, like, we had an all-star game in Charlotte. People say we couldn't support it. And we did. We did great. And I'm happy to see places like Seattle who haven't had an NHL team. Now they get an all-star game, or Toronto. So this clown just needs to be quiet. He probably wants it somewhere like in LA or New York. And people are just tired of seeing these big markets getting everything. It's about time places like Detroit, Seattle, Toronto, Charlotte, whatever, small market cities or medium-sized cities get an all-star game, because it's not fair to them just because they grew up somewhere smaller, where in LA, New York, they used to get all that. Now, people are going to go no matter what. So this guy needs to be quiet, and he needs to understand it snows a lot in Massachusetts. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, what I'll add to this whole thing is, number one, Detroit is an iconic Original Six market. So let's not forget that. Okay, so they definitely deserve one. Edmonton's had a nice history, beginning with Wayne Gretzky, carrying over to Connor McDavid. But here's the wild card here: Seattle. Okay, the Seattle Kraken. If anybody's ever been to the city of Seattle, one of the most beautiful cities in the country. It just is. And I love Seattle. I covered some events there. So, Brad, I once had a junior high teacher named Mrs. Pulley. And you know what she used to say when the class got out of control? Close your lips. Close your lips. Close your lips. I think that's how I remember her. 40, 37. Oh, who cares? I'm good at math anyways, 40 years. Close your lips, Brad Marchand. And the best case scenario is maybe if those cities are lucky, you won't get selected anyway, so you don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I can guarantee one thing you're not putting it at the moment is Arizona for the Coyotes playing a 5,000 seat arena, maybe down the road. If you ever get your stadium figured out, maybe by then I'll be collecting Social Security. And who knows where I'll be. I know I won't be collecting 100%, but I'll take it early. But let's see if they ever hold it in Arizona. Nothing against them. They had a decent arena, the Gila River Arena. Candy and I both went there. I liked it. The only problem with Arizona was their audience is really based on the East Valley. But come on, Brad, get real. Everybody knows that you're in a cold climate. So close your lips. Close your lips. And, if anybody out there needs me to give you an alarm clock sound with Mrs. Pulley, you can contact me at 954-304-4941. I'll be more than happy to give you the Mrs. Pulley. Close your lips. Okay, I think a lot of people have heard of it. Hopefully I'm not going to lose you with that. All right, but yeah, a little bit. It's okay to go back in time. All right, so with that said, Jordan, give me your parting shots.
Well, the Denver Broncos are going to need a backup quarterback to Russell Wilson. They do not have one on the current roster. Now, the question is, do you go after Carson Wentz, who was just released, Marcus Mariota, or do you go free agent of Teddy Bridgewater? In my personal opinion, you either go Mariota or you go Teddy Bridgewater because those two players are the same skill set as a Russell Wilson. Then again, could they trade for one? I really don't know, but all I know is we do need a backup quarterback to Russell Wilson.
Okay, Candy?
I agree. You do need a backup. Carson has played the backup role very well, but I think his time is come and gone. I agree. Mariota would be a good choice. But they do. The one thing you have to all of the teams, you need to have a backup plan because look at San Francisco. Look at how many quarterbacks they went through. Look at Miami and Tua going out. Like, you need to have a backup. And if you want to be any place at the end of the year vying for the playoffs, your backup has to be sufficient. Don't shortchange your backup.
Yeah. Rick?
Yeah, Carson Wentz, he's going to be a backup. I mean, this is his third team already in 3 years. The guy just can't stay healthy. So if I was Denver, I would be leery of him. I see him more likely going to Kansas City, because he ain't going to get no playing time there with Patrick Mahomes there. So he can sit around and hold the clipboard because the guy can't stay healthy, unfortunately. For Denver, I like Mariota, Bridgewater, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know. But if I was Denver, I'd go after Mariota. He gets injured a lot, but he's going to be a backup. And you need that insurance policy in case things don't work out with Russell Wilson. That's still a question mark. So if I was Denver, I would be looking at Mariota, Bridgewater possibly, but I would go after Mariota. Carson Wentz, that guy just cannot stay healthy, and he's just been inconsistent. And 3 teams in 3 years, not a good sign. So I think Kansas City would be a good fit for him.
Well, believe it or not, this is another wild card with the Saints connection. I would probably go to Jameis Winston because he worked under Sean Payton. I mean, another one that comes to mind would be Andy Dalton. I don't think you can go wrong with either of those two. So Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton would be my choices as a possible backup. Can't really go wrong, but we'll see. But I really think, with all due respect, the Broncos are going to draft a quarterback anyways. I really do. There's enough of them. They've talked about wanting to do it, and Sean Payton will want to groom his own guy, but those are the 3 that I would look at. So, okay, Candy, please give me your parting shot.
So my parting shot comes from last night's show, Fire Up Wisconsin. Milwaukee Brewers, I am so disappointed that you had to go to arbitration with Corbin Burns over $749,000. Really? And details are coming out that you are blaming him because your offense couldn't score runs to get you into the playoffs. Come on, you can do better. I expect better. That really hurts. It hurt Corbin Burns. How is he going to feel going into the season now? Is he going to give it his all? Is he going to be trade bait? Milwaukee Brewers, you're a small market team. You can't upset your players. You hurt us last year when you traded Josh Hader. Now you upset your Cy Young Award winner and Corbin Burns. I'm sorry. I'm sad. You're still my team, but I'm sad. Disappointed.
Rick, I think we gave you your parting shot earlier, didn't we? Or didn't we?
Yeah, I did the XFL.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so why don't you comment on Candies?
Milwaukee, I have no idea. Milwaukee's the smallest city with Major League Baseball. Okay, they're a very small market, blue collar place. They're not going to attract big free agents. They had CC Sabathia. He left. He did great with them, but he left because it's just a small market, and you're just not going to attract those players. So to really upset your best pitcher is stupid over nothing. I mean, that's nothing money for Major League Baseball, for sports. So I don't know what they're doing. If I was him, I would just have a chip on my shoulder, pitch my hardest, and just show people, because he is gone. He ain't coming back. So, maybe the Dodgers can get him. Some other big market will get him. But as for Milwaukee, they lost him. And, I hate to say this, Candy, don't see them winning a World Series anytime soon if they keep doing stuff like that. So very disappointing, but, it is what it is. So I would love for him to go to the Dodgers because I love the Dodgers, but we'll see. But it'll be interesting where he goes.
George?
Yeah, I agree, Candy. That was like peanuts. Let's talk about peanuts. When you start squibbling over that amount of money and going to arbitration. I know that the Detroit Tigers have been really good at trying to avoid those kind of bloodletting sessions that the arbitration judges and hearings go through. But this is ridiculous to treat your Cy Young Award guy like that. And Burns did not deserve that. That was very, very a bad calculation on the part of the Brewers management. And like Rick says, he's probably going to move on. And really, you squabbled over something you shouldn't have. The guy has brought so much to his game and so much to the fans in Milwaukee with his talents. And now you're putting him out there acting like, oh, God, he's ripping us off for wanting 700,000 more or whatever it was. So, that's crazy. That's crazy economics. And you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm sorry, Brewers management.
Jordan?
Brewers management definitely screwed this up. I don't see Corbin Burns coming back. I think we talked about it 2 weeks ago or a couple of weeks ago on the show, that I honestly think you're going to wait until the trade deadline and then you're going to trade Corbin Burns. After that, the Brewers just need to get it together. I mean, the front office is not probably one of the worst run front offices in Major League Baseball. If you're squabbling over just a couple of $1,000s and you had to go to arbitration, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I feel sorry for you Brewers fans, but in the end, you're going to end up losing a lot of players, and it's not going to be a destination people will want to go to, especially if this keeps happening.
Yeah, the Milwaukee Brewers haven't been to a World Series since 1982, and they ended up paying Ryan Braun a lot of money to stick around. I don't think I applaud either of those situations, but you can't nickel and dime your best player. If you do, then it'll be a while before you get back. All right, I'm going to ask any one of you to comment on this, not everybody, and then I'll go to my parting shot. So anybody want to talk about Lux tearing his ACL? Who gets it?
Very unfortunate situation. That was painful to watch that on the replay. That's really going to hurt the Dodgers. I mean, they were really counting on him big time this year.
Yeah, I'm a Dodger fan. Dodgers have lost so much in free agency. We've seen their struggles with Dave Roberts, and I've been on here just extremely critical of Dave Roberts. And then they lose him, and the guy was tearing up. He was crying, and so it's sad to see. I think the Dodgers are going to struggle. I really do. They lost too many people, and this was a huge loss for them.
Okay. All right. I'll go to my parting shot. Oakland A's payroll. I'm picking on them again, so I'm probably not winning any friends with this one. Oakland A's payroll 61 million. New York Mets payroll 355 million, according to Front Office Sports. Mets billionaire Steve Cohen has committed $500 million to free agents this offseason, prompting calls for financial reform among some MLB owners. Cohen says he's standing firm. They laid down the rules. I'm just following them. You know what? I'll just say this. I have zero problem against Steve Cohen at all. He's going to pay the luxury tax. Obviously, we call it the Steve Cohen tax. If this man is committed to winning and he's willing to put his money where his mouth is, I have zero problem with it. So for those of you that are critics of Steve Cohen, I wouldn't quite go there. You can only hope that every owner is committed to putting his money where his mouth is, as Steve Cohen is, and I think the Mets are going to have a fine year. Okay, Rick?
Yeah, I talked about this one of my parting shots. You know, these cheapskate owners or people who love their teams, but they have cheaper, like the Pirates, Marlins, Kansas City. They just need to be quiet. Spend your money. There's no salary cap. You can spend as much money as you want in Major League Baseball. It's not like the NFL or the NBA. It's a bonanza. If he wants to put in $1 trillion, let him do it. It's his money. It's his team. How can you criticize him? He wants to win. That's how you spend money. Georgesteinbrenner, he would spend money like crazy. And they said he won a World Series. Well, he won it. It doesn't matter. He wants to spend money. He wants to win. He's in New York, bright lights, big city. So all these little other owners from the Pirates and the Marlins need to be quiet, stop being cheapskates, and leave Steve Cohen alone. And we need more Steve Cohens in Major League Baseball for owners.
Yeah, well, evidently Will Vogel believes that you're right, because even though I'm a Yankees fan, Cohen is awesome spending the money like Steinbrenner. So your comments are definitely timely. All right, George.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the owners have the right to spend as much as they want, and they wanted to bring a championship. And plus, he's got unbelievable competition right across the street, literally, with the Yankees. Yankees have a bigger stadium than the Mets do. I understand that, so their revenue probably is a tick higher. But we had the situation here in Detroit where Mike Ilitch, the founder of the Little Caesars pizza chain, along with his wife, he went out and spent big money. And, you know, we had guys like Verlander and Scherzer on this team at one time, along with Cabrera and Ordonez and Pudge Rodriguez, and the money was spent. And let me tell you, it was a fun time here in Detroit when that money was spent, and it brought the Tigers 2 American League pennants, 2 trips to the World Series. Unfortunately, they lost both of those to the Cardinals in one and the Giants in the other. But no, I think if the owner sees an avenue to spend the money, he's trying to bring a championship, trying to bring a winner to your town, I'm all for it.
I got to say one thing about Will Vogel, though. This kid's catching on fast. Great minds think alike. My goodness. And a great first act last night on Fire Up Michigan. Keep up the good work. There's more airtime waiting in the wings for you. All right, Jordan, go ahead.
I have no problem with Cohen spending his money. Like we've been saying, there's no salary cap. You want to win. How do you win in baseball? You spend the money. More owners should do the same thing. I'm waiting for Colorado to spend more money so they can, we're a small market team, to actually get to a place where we can be competitive with the Dodgers, who are big money spenders, the Padres. I have no problem with this. If you want to win, you got to spend the money, get those free agents. Who cares about the luxury tax? Because technically there is no salary cap in baseball. So if you can spend the money to get those players, I'm fine by it, especially if you want to win a championship. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, Tony Clark has made it very clear that there's no way that they'll ever have a salary cap in MLB. So he mentioned that in the last few days. They won't have to address this thing for at least 3 years. I think 2026 is when the CBA expires. But boy, if a salary cap is addressed then, this one could be worse than the last 90-day work stoppage. All right, Candy. Not only can you wrap up the topic, but my voice is getting a little hoarse. Your dad would be laughing in heaven right now when my voice gets hoarse a little bit. As anybody else that knows me, but then again, maybe my Mrs. Pulley, close your lips, probably helped to get a little closer too. I had to get that in. Go ahead, Katie. Give me your opinion and then go around the horn with everybody else.
So I don't have a problem with it. Obviously, there is no salary cap, and we've all said that. Now, the bigger question would be, should there be a salary cap? But that's not the issue. That's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about an owner who has deep pockets, and he's using it to put a team on the field that's competitive and exciting to see. Do I have a problem with that? No. Do I wish more owners would do it? I'm like you, Jordan. Milwaukee hasn't done it. Milwaukee's a small market team. We just talked about it. Do we need more of that? Yeah, of course we do. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, what was Miller Park and now American Family Fields is Wrigley North, because people couldn't get tickets at Wrigley Field, so they were flooding Miller Park. So do we need more, money spent? I just wish the gap wasn't as big for how the difference between the salary cap, the salaries that they, from 40 million to 336 million. That's a big, wide gap comparatively. And I know the Brewers are over, but 100 million, but that's still almost $200 million difference that you're getting in talent, and you're paying for talent for the Mets as opposed to some of these small market teams. I don't have a problem with it. I just wish more teams spent it so it wasn't such a big discrepancy between the payrolls of all the teams.
Well, George and I don't know. Mike Ilitch wasn't afraid to spend any money either. So
Right.
I know Chris Ilitch is trying to develop his team so that they can go out there and be sustainable. But Mike Ilitch, not only did he spend money in baseball, but the NHL had to have a salary cap because they knew Mike Ilitch was going to clean up on the championship side too. So Red Wings still won a Stanley Cup during the salary cap era. But you know what? When come trade deadline, okay, Mike Ilitch, he was willing to spend and did whatever he had. And I definitely think, without a doubt, in American sports history ownership, that Mike Ilitch certainly would go down as one of the top 10, 15 in my book, as one of the best owners of all time. So great show tonight. Really enjoyed it. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead, everybody, let everybody know, go get a hold of us. Yeah, okay. And there we go. My tongue is tied because of the horse inside of my vocal cords. All right, Rick. Let everybody know how they get a hold of you. And by the way, Rick Curdy does an outstanding job helping us on social media, promote all of our shows, content, and we are eternally grateful. All right, Mr. Curdy, well, I have a voice. Take over for whatever time you need.
Well, you can find me on my website, www.charlottebats.com. I have a petition on there. Please sign it. We want to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB and Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. I'm on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curdy. If you have any comments or questions, you can email me at cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com.
And he'll be appearing on tomorrow night's edition of the Sports Exchange after 9 o'clock, following Pundit's Pundit on Sideline Sports. Okay, George, go ahead. You have a book to promote?
Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air, which chronicles, 50, 60, 70, 80 years of broadcast excellence here in Detroit and Michigan, starting with the legendary Ty Tyson, the original voice of the Detroit Tigers, all the way through Dan Dickerson, the current voice. Scott's in the book as well, interviewing a couple of greats, Muhammad Ali and our friend Jimmy Connors. And the book's available. There's a link for the book to obtain it at the end of my column under the Motor City Tribune, under the South Florida Tribune banner, which I contribute articles to, as well as the Detroit Monitor. You can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com or on Facebook, or you can friend me also on Twitter at SNG Sports 99. Glad to be part of the show, and thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome. What I love about having you on the show, George, is the fact that you and I are the senior members of this crew. We can go back probably a little bit longer than some of the people we have on. It doesn't mean they don't know anything. It's just we saw a lot of these guys play. That's the only difference. All right, Jordan, go ahead.
Well, you can obviously find me here on Tuesday nights on 108 Stitches. I am on plenty of Sideline Sports shows. Also, you can find me on Twitter at SportsScoop1, and you can read my blogs that I write Mondays through Thursdays with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com.
All right. Also, on a special thanks to Will Vogel, life of the chat room tonight. Thank you very much for participating, Will, in a very official but unofficial way. Thank you very much. All right, Candy, take it away. My voice is just about done.
So you can find me any night of the week. Typically, it seems like I've been appearing on one of our South Florida Tribune shows. On Monday nights, we have Fire Up Detroit, and once in a while, we'll sprinkle in Fire Up Wisconsin. Tuesday nights, you can find me on Chicks and Salsa on the Sidelines Sports side of things. And then you can also find me sometimes here at 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Wednesday nights would be Sports Exchange. Thursday nights, from time to time, you'll see Inside the Pigskin or Fire Up, or you just never know what Scott has up his bag of tricks. You can always, please subscribe. There's that little red button. If you see it, hit it, subscribe, be our 1,000th subscriber. We're striving to get there. And if you would like and share our broadcast, help us out, get the word out, get more people out there watching us, that would be great. We have a website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can email us ideas. Maybe you want to appear on one of our shows. Give us some topics, and you never know. You might just be on there. Email your topics, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is @TribuneSouth. And I think that's a wrap. Did I hit it out of the park, Scott?
Yeah, you did. Yeah. And if you want to advertise, feel free to call me at 954-304-4941. But other than that, Candy, you always hit it out of the park. You are an MVP in more ways than one, because you are the mastermind behind our website, getting all the shows up there, as well as making sure the content. I've never seen a person so efficient in my life. God goodness. So meanwhile, on behalf of Candy Ebling, Jordan Long, George Eichhorn, and Rick Curdy, I've got 23 hours to attempt to get my voice back. Thank you very much for joining us on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, and we will see you next Tuesday night. God bless everybody. Enjoy the Diamond doings until we have more to do next week. Take care. Have a wonderful night, and thank you very much for joining us. Bye now.
Good night.
Good night.